In 2025, the average British household is spending over 60% of their income on rent, food, bills. That's not survival, that's financial suffocation. And yet, nobody seems to have a straight answer to the most pressing question of our time. Why has the cost of living in the UK spiraled so far out of control? You're not imagining things. Your money really is disappearing faster than ever. One trip to the supermarket feels like a luxury outing. Heating your home for the winter, a borderline privilege. And let's not even talk about renting in London. It's becoming the stuff of horror stories. But here's what's really alarming. Behind this crisis isn't just inflation or supply issues. There are deeper, more unsettling reasons. Forces most of us don't even realize are shaping our everyday lives. This video unpacks 10 powerful reasons. Now one of the most expensive places to live in Europe. And trust me, some of them will shock you. What if I told you that some corporations are silently increasing prices even when their costs haven't changed? Or that government policies from years ago are still haunting us now? Stick around, because the truth isn't just surprising, it's personal. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why it feels like you're always broke, and what you can do about it. Number 1. Housing crisis. Let's start with what's draining most people's wallets faster than anything else. Housing. In 2025, the average rent in the UK has shot up by more than 11% compared to last year. In major cities like London, Manchester, and Bristol, it's even worse. For many renters, affording a flat now means sacrificing basics like heating, and if you thought buying a home was an escape plan, think again. Mortgage rates have skyrocketed to levels not seen since 2008, pricing out an entire generation. Why is this happening? It's not just about demand and supply. The UK's housing shortage has been building for over a decade. Local councils aren't building enough affordable homes, and many of the existing properties are being bought up by investors, some of them foreign, who leave them empty or use them as short-term rentals. That's right. Entire blocks in city centres now function more like Airbnb hotels than homes for actual people. Worse still, government schemes that were supposed to make buying easier, like Help to Buy, ended up pushing prices even higher by boosting demand without increasing supply. It's a vicious cycle, and ordinary people are caught in the middle. The result? A country where young people are stuck living with parents, key workers can't afford to live near their jobs, and entire communities are being hollowed out by unaffordable rents and property speculation. And that's just the first reason why living in the UK feels like a constant uphill battle in 2025. Number 2. Energy costs. If you've opened your energy bill lately and felt your stomach drop, you're not alone. In 2025, the average UK household is paying nearly double what they did just 3 years ago for gas and electricity. And that's with usage staying the same or even decreasing. How did it come to this? After temporary price caps were removed in 2023, energy companies regained the freedom to charge market rates, and those rates have surged. Global tensions, supply chain disruptions, and reduced investments in renewable infrastructure have all played a part. But here's what providers are still reporting record-breaking profits, while millions of families are forced to choose between heating and eating. Energy poverty is now a real and rising crisis. Older adults, people with disabilities, and low-income families are hit hardest. Insufficient insulation in UK homes means heat escapes faster than your paycheck, making even basic comfort a luxury for millions. And despite promises of support from the government, many subsidies have quietly been rolled back or restricted, leaving people scrambling to cover costs. The impact isn't just financial, it's emotional. The anxiety of checking your meter, the guilt of turning up the heat, the stress of falling behind on payments. It's a daily weight on people's minds. So here's a question for you. Have your energy bills skyrocketed too? What sacrifices have you had to make? Let us know your story in the comments. And if you want more honest takes on what's really happening in the UK right now, hit that subscribe button. Your voice matters, and your awareness could spark real change. Number 3. Inflation and wages. Now let's talk about something that feels like a bad magic trick. Your paycheck shrinking without actually getting smaller. Wages in the UK have barely moved in real terms since before the pandemic. Sure, on paper, some salaries have gone up. But when everything around you costs more, that so-called raise feels like a cruel joke. Eggs, milk, transport, clothes, even a basic takeaway is starting to feel like a treat instead of a norm. Inflation in 2025 isn't just a number the Bank of England announces every quarter. It's something you feel every time you tap your card. And here's the kicker. The official inflation rate picture. The real cost of everyday life, the stuff people actually buy, is rising faster than the stats suggest. Meanwhile, many employers are using inflation as an excuse to freeze wages, citing economic uncertainty. And when people ask for pay rises, they're met with generic responses about budget constraints or market alignment. Translation: you're on your own. To make matters worse, interest rates were raised in recent years to try and curb inflation. That's great for slowing down the economy on paper, but for regular folks, it means credit card payments, mortgages, and loans are all more expensive. So you're earning less in real value and paying more just to stay afloat. This isn't just a money issue. It's a quality of life crisis. It chips away at your sense of stability, makes future planning feel impossible, and slowly working hard will ever be enough. This is why the cost of living isn't just high, it's exhausting. Number 4. Brexit fallout. It's been nearly a decade since the UK voted to leave the European Union, and yet in 2025, we're still living with the financial aftershocks. For many, Brexit felt like a closed chapter, but its economic consequences are far from over. Here's the reality. Trade has become slower, more expensive, and more complicated. Small businesses that used to export seamlessly across Europe are now bogged down by paperwork, border checks, and new compliance rules. That means higher costs for them, which eventually trickle down to you, the consumer. Imported goods now come with added fees and longer delays. So whether you're buying fresh fruit, car parts, or clothing, you're paying more. And for British manufacturers, sourcing materials has become a logistic. This makes domestic production more expensive, reducing competition and driving up prices across the board. But it doesn't stop there. The UK has also seen a massive labour shortage, especially in key sectors like agriculture, logistics, and hospitality. With fewer EU workers coming in, there simply aren't enough hands to harvest crops, run deliveries, or staff service industries. Fewer workers means slower services, higher wages for employers to attract staff, and, you guessed it, higher prices for everyone. Brexit was supposed to give the UK control. But for the average household, what it's delivered is a reality where everything costs more and feels less reliable. And because these changes are structural, they're not going away anytime soon. While politicians debate the everyday people are already footing the bill. Quietly, every single day. At the checkout, at the petrol station, and in the choices they're forced to make about what they can and can't afford. Number 5. Shrinking social support. Once upon a time, the UK prided itself on having a robust safety net. But in 2025, that net feels more like a threadbare rope. Universal credit, the backbone of welfare for millions, is no longer keeping up with real-world costs. Benefit increases have failed to match inflation, leaving recipients with less purchasing power year after year. And for many families, even qualifying has become a bureaucratic nightmare. Stringent criteria, long waits, and confusing systems mean that support often comes too little, too late. But the cuts don't stop there. Local councils, already stretched thin, have slashed funding for support to elderly care and community programs. Libraries are closing, after-school programs are vanishing, and mental health services have months-long waiting lists. All the things that once held communities together are quietly fading away. This shrinking safety net doesn't just affect those on benefits. Middle-income earners are also feeling the squeeze. With fewer public services, more people are forced to pay privately for things that were once free: transport, healthcare extras, education support. And if you can't afford it, too bad. The gap between the just getting by and the falling behind is growing wider every day. For millions, it's no longer about living well, it's about just surviving. One unexpected bill, one missed paycheck, one family emergency, and the whole thing crumbles. Without strong social support isn't just unfair, it's unstable. Because when more people fall through the cracks, everyone feels the consequences. Even those who think they're safe aren't. It's not just about money, it's about dignity, security, and the silent stress that creeps in when you know there's no one to catch you if you fall. Number 6. Council tax and local levies. Now let's talk about one of the most quietly devastating parts of the UK's cost of living crisis: council tax. In 2025, council tax bills are soaring across the country. Some local authorities have raised them by more than 10% in just a year. And while this might seem like just another number, for millions of households, it's the final straw. Unlike income tax or VAT, council tax hits everyone regardless of their financial situation. You could be living on the breadline and still be expected to cough up hundreds each month. Why the sudden jump? Local councils are broke. Years of government funding cut to keep essential services alive. Think rubbish collection, road maintenance, local schools, and emergency services. So they do the only thing they can: raise taxes. But here's the problem: those tax hikes don't come with improved services. In fact, they often coincide with cutbacks. So people end up paying more for less. Bins collected less frequently. Libraries shutting down, public spaces left unmaintained. It's like buying a full-price ticket to a show and only getting to see the first act. On top of that, other hidden levies are creeping in. Parking permits, school meal charges, and transport fees have all been hiked up in subtle but painful ways. What's even more frustrating is how outdated the system is. Council tax bans are still based on property values from 1991. People living on the same street might pay wildly different amounts just because of a valuation done over 3 decades ago. This isn't just a tax issue, it's a fairness issue. And as these local charges pile up, they quietly erode what little financial breathing room people have left. Number 7. Food price surge. You've probably noticed it in your weekly shop. The same basket of groceries that used to cost £30 is now closer to £50. And it's not because you're buying anything extra. In 2025, food prices in the UK have surged to record highs, and it's not just inflation to blame. A perfect storm of global and domestic issues is driving up the cost of what ends up on your plate. Climate change is hitting agriculture hard. Droughts, floods are making it harder to grow crops, both here in the UK and abroad. That means reduced supply and higher prices for basics like wheat, vegetables, and dairy. Even meat and eggs have become noticeably more expensive due to rising feed and energy costs on farms. Brexit also plays a continuing role. Importing food from Europe now comes with extra fees, transport delays, and logistical headaches. Perishable items like fruits and vegetables are particularly vulnerable, meaning more spoilage and waste, which adds to costs. And then there's the supermarkets. They're not just innocent middlemen. Many have been accused of passing costs straight to consumers while protecting their profit margins. Shrinkflation is everywhere. Smaller packages, higher prices, and less transparency. Worse still, food banks are seeing unprecedented demand. Families are now relying on donations just to eat 3 meals a day. And for children growing up in food-insecure homes, the impact isn't just physical, it's emotional, psychological, and long-term. Food is the one thing we all need, every day. So when prices climb, everyone feels it, rich or poor. And for many, that weekly shop is now a source of stress instead of routine. A constant reminder of how the essentials have become luxuries. Number 8. Transportation costs. It's getting harder and more expensive just to get from point A to point B. In 2025, transportation costs in the UK are climbing steeply, and it's hitting both urban commuters and rural families alike. Train fares are up by more than 8% this year alone, and despite rising prices, services are often delayed, overcrowded, and for many, public transport no longer feels like a viable or affordable option. But if you're thinking of driving instead, think again. Petrol prices have surged due to global supply disruptions, new environmental levies, and the weakening value of the pound. Even electric vehicle owners aren't spared. Charging costs have spiked as electricity prices continue to soar. And let's not forget insurance. Car insurance premiums in the UK are at their highest in nearly a decade, with insurers citing inflation, parts shortages, and increased repair costs as the main drivers. Parking charges in cities have also climbed, and low-emission zones are adding daily fees for many older vehicles. For people in rural areas, where public transport is limited or non-existent, these rising costs are even more punishing. Driving isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. But now it's a necessity that eats up a significant chunk of the monthly budget. Transportation isn't just about convenience, it's about access. Getting to work, school, hospital appointments, even visiting family, it all hinges on affordable mobility. When moving around becomes a financial burden, people's lives shrink. Opportunities disappear, isolation increases, and in a country already grappling with a mental health crisis, rising transport costs don't just limit freedom, they quietly contribute to deeper social fractures. The freedom to move shouldn't come at such a high price. Number 9. Rise of subscription living. Once upon a time, subscriptions were for magazines and gym memberships. Now, it feels like you need a subscription just to live. In 2025, the average UK household is juggling over a dozen active subscriptions, from streaming services and cloud storage to grocery boxes and even laundry capsules. It's the silent drip, drip, drip of spending that's eating away at bank balances across the country. On the surface, these services promise convenience. Never run out again, they say. But what they often deliver is a loss of control. These micro-charges, often hidden in the background of our monthly statements, add up fast. £5 here, £9.99 there. Suddenly, you're shelling out hundreds every month on things you may not even use regularly. And companies love it. The subscription model guarantees recurring income for them, and it thrives on forgetfulness. How many times have you told yourself you'll cancel that free trial, and then forgot? But the trend is expanding beyond entertainment and food. Now, essentials like razors, toiletries, even baby formula are being sold on a subscription-only basis by some brands. What used to be a one-time is becoming a locked-in, never-ending billing cycle. Worse still, unsubscribing isn't always easy. Some platforms bury the cancel button in confusing menus or require phone calls during office hours to end your plan. This new way of living doesn't just affect your wallet. It shifts how we experience ownership and necessity. More and more, we're renting our lives instead of owning them. And in a world where everything comes with a monthly fee, financial freedom is quietly being replaced by financial dependency. Number 10. Corporate price gouging. Let's end with a truth that's as frustrating as it is infuriating. Not all price hikes are caused by inflation, supply issues, or global instability. Some of them are pure corporate greed. In 2025, many of the UK's biggest companies are reporting record profits, while consumers are tightening their belts. How does that add up? Simple. They're charging more, even when they don't need to. It's called price gouging, and while it's not always illegal, it's definitely unethical. We're talking about businesses raising prices far beyond what's justified by their costs. You've probably seen it. Products that are suddenly more expensive, smaller in size, or both. That's shrinkflation, the sneaky tactic of reducing quantity while keeping the price the same, or even increasing it. Food, toiletries, household goods, everything's fair game. Some brands are quietly removing items from multi-packs, shrinking bottle sizes, or swapping out ingredients while continuing to market the product as premium. And because competition is low in many sectors, consumers have no choice but to pay up. When every supermarket is doing the same thing. It's a coordinated squeeze with nowhere to turn. What's worse, companies often disguise these changes behind branding, seasonal promotions, or vague cost pressures. But make no mistake, their bottom line is booming while yours is bleeding. This erosion of trust adds to the sense that the system isn't just broken, it's rigged. People are paying more and getting less, not just in products, but in fairness, accountability, and respect. When profit is prioritized over people, it's no wonder the cost of living feels so completely out of control. And the worst part, most of it is happening right under our noses, without a single apology. The cost of living crisis isn't just about numbers, it's about real people, real lives, and real struggles. Drop a comment below and tell us, what's your story? We read every single one. And if you found this, check out our last one. It dives even deeper into how everyday Brits are fighting back. We pour hours into creating content that actually matters. So if you want to support us, all it takes is one click. Subscribe now and be part of something real.